Alrighty. So yeah, I'll just reiterate. If you're wanting to see Carl Franklin's talk on Blazor, that's not it, obviously. They swapped me and Carl, so he's in room 2 and I'm now here. So by all means, if you want to go see Carl's talk, now's the time. So thank you for coming though. It's always interesting having a talk on the Friday after the party. I did have a talk once, Friday morning at like 9, the first one, in Australia, where people, I don't know, partied a little bit longer maybe, and there was like 3 people. So thank you. Yeah, so this is, yes, it is a clickbaity title, absolutely. I thought it was funny as well. And this is a continuation / extension of a talk I did 2 years ago, I've done it a few times, called The Force Awakens. Obviously that was for the previous movie, right? Hey! So, but it sort of have relevance in the theme that we're gonna talk about. So, I am kind of relying on all of you lovely people as well to make this a much more interesting session. Not that I expect you to do all the work, but it's one of those talks that if you don't interact, there's not much point. Okay, so I'm not going to do any live code demos. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. It's just, don't use the word just. It's a talk about how we just become a little bit more focused, a little bit better, a little bit more, I guess, pointed in the right direction. So that's the talk. And I like to start with a question. And this is one of those sort of that can mean so many things to so many people, and that's fine. But fulfillment, to me, is part of why we do what we do. It's why I'm here now. I'm on the stage. It's because, hey, I got stuff I want to share. And it makes me happy to see that maybe you get something out of it as well, right? And it's a question I asked, again, 3 years ago, worded slightly differently, but it's something that people just forget. A lot of the time it's sort of like, yeah, I'm happy. Like, what does that mean? I like the word fulfillment. Are you fulfilled? A lot better. Because if you start talking about what you want to achieve or what you have achieved or where you are right now, where you want to be, to me, fulfillment has a very, very large part of it. Like, why else would I do it, right? I haven't traveled to London 24 hours on a plane to be here for 4 days to just, have a burger, right? I'm here with a special purpose. Part of it was I was taught a workshop Monday, Tuesday. Part of it is that I have all this stuff I want to share with you. So fulfillment for me is, well, part of it is this, and we'll get to that a bit more as well. So just bear that in mind throughout the talk. This is sort of where it all ends up, right? Fulfillment, or are you satisfied, right? Okay, bit of a disclaimer. I am not going to tell you what to do, okay? This is not one of those talks where I say, I did that and you should do it too. That's not the point. I hate when people tell you should, because it's like, well, maybe I shouldn't. This is just a whole bunch of stuff that I've learned that I find extremely valuable and I love to share with you. If you can pick out bits that you can use and you need, hey, fantastic. But if there's some of it you disagree with, by all means tell me, because we can talk about it, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. No. But this is not me telling you what to do, okay? It's a whole bunch of things that I've learned, especially over the last 4 years, since I did the first talk. So that's the disclaimer. Cool. So I just want to start with me, because that's kind of contextual to what we're talking about. So I've done computers forever. That's me. I think that's me there. And I'm 8, and I just bought a Commodore 64. In my parents' living room, and that's my friends around. Look how freaking close we are to the screen. I know, right? Anyway, so I've done computers forever and ever. Like that's what, 30-something years ago now. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was kind of building up to, well, I found this picture, to my first NDC talk. So that was in Oslo in 2015, and that was a huge moment for me. I cannot tell you how nervous I was. I was stressing over these slides for 2 days up to, and I kept changing them, and then I was there, and there was like 150 people wanting to know about, what did they want to know? Universal Windows apps. Oh, come on. Right? But I was that guy, okay? I have 20-something Windows phones. Yes, I know. So that was that journey. I'm not going to go through all that because that's not why we're here, but it has always been part of me being in technology and showing people, whether it was friends or whoever, trying to get them excited about it. So People ask what I do now, and I'm not really sure. That's one video I did, then that's another one, and then it ended up with something like this, and it's like, so I didn't know where I was going to end up as such. I always had a direction, and I kind of knew where I wanted to be, but right now I work for this company, and I hide behind people. No, I don't. And I love being creative, and that's kind of why this talk is happening as well. I just want to share all this, right? And I do a lot. I do. People look at usually at social media. We'll talk more about that. I'm terrible, addicted to it. And putting up videos and doing things and being part of it. And a lot of the time, the question I get, the number one question is, how do you find time to do all this? Right? Has anyone got the same? You love to do a thing, but you sort of, I don't have time. You ever use that excuse? And I call it an excuse. Yeah, there's one person, and the rest of you are lying. Okay. No, because it's very much a thing, isn't it? Because we all have the same time. Like, you don't have more time than I do, and I don't, this is not how it works. We all have the same amount of time. It's how we use it. And that's where I want to start, because I realized when I did the first talk that this was the main question that people was asking all the time. They're like, well, how do you actually do it? And when you're right in the middle and in the thick of it, you sort of go, well, I just did it. I wanted to. But so I started thinking more about it. So just to kind of give you a context of what I kind of do. So I do obviously all these silly videos. And I did a bunch of Pluralsight courses. I like being on screen, I'm sorry. It's just a thing I find very interesting. And so that's my professional part of it. I do a lot of teaching, a lot of training, a lot of presentations. But then I also absolutely love community. So Microsoft gives me some stickers that says MVP on it. That's pretty much what you get out of it, by the way. But it's also a tip of the hat going, hey, we really love what you're doing for the community. And I've been doing a conference called DDD Melbourne for 10 years now. The last 10 years I've been doing this conference every year, more or less involved. And that takes, it's a one-day event, but it takes 6 months to do, right? I don't know, does anyone here organize conferences? Yes. There's a lot of work involved, yeah. And it's obviously not just me, there's 10 of us organizing it, and we all do it voluntarily, but it still takes so much time. Just try and find a venue, here's a challenge, and then try and book an event and then get everything right for the venue. Go. So there are things that are really hard. I've also written articles, and I've just started this new Azure Meetup, which is online only. It's on YouTube. So I've done that with 2 others. A lot of the times I don't do any of this by myself. It's always a team, but because you've got to feed off someone else. This I'm really, really proud of. It's very cool. I live in the middle of absolutely nowhere in Australia. I have satellite internet. I don't know if you saw my fun talk last night. That was actually all true. I wasn't making that up. And I can't go to meetups. I live 2 hours from a major city. So I'm like, hey, how do I make this easier for me? It's just a selfish thing. And I'm teamed up with a guy in the Netherlands and a guy in the US, and we're doing this online meetup. So that's another thing. So back to getting time to doing all this. What's the number one thing you reckon that you can do to get more time in your day, or to get more time for you? That's one, yes. But if you all have the same amount of time, prioritize is, yes, I would probably put that number 2. Sleep faster? He's not wrong.
6 hours of sleep.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I gotta say, you are not wrong. It's a funny way of saying it, and I'm gonna so steal it for next time. But yeah, you're not wrong. Absolutely. Early risers. How many here gets up at before 6 in the morning? Hey, what do you do when you get up?
Complain.
Sorry? Complain. Fair?
Tell the kids to go back to bed.
Tell the kids to be honest, yeah. Okay, so how many get up before 5? 2. Okay. What would happen if you got up at 5 instead of 6? Divorced. So why can't you? You can't have that. No, sorry. So forget the rest of the talk. Sorry. No, because the difference between getting up at 5 and 6 or 4:30 mentally, initially, it's bloody hard. Like you go, it's really early. But then what happens is that there's really no difference. In winter, it's still dark outside. If in the UK, it still rains outside. Sorry. And you just get an extra hour. You get an extra hour to yourself. So I've done some one-on-one mentoring with various people for that matter. And 2 of them did this religiously. They got up I think one got up at 4:30 and one got up at 5. And they had a whole hour to themselves. Because there was one of them, he wanted to contribute to this GitHub repo. It's very specific. But he wanted to be so involved in this open source project. I'm like, okay, we get up at 5, and then you have a coffee for 5 minutes, and then you do it for an hour, then you have your shower or whatever else you do in the morning. And he was like, that's not gonna work. And did. And it's actually proven in many ways that if you get up just an hour earlier, just 1 hour, obviously this means you gotta go to bed an hour early as well, right, okay. We'll get to that as well, bear with me. He said you make better decisions because you start your day earlier, so you have this mental advantage, this mental leap before everybody else gets up, essentially, or mentally gets up, right? And this is, I haven't put the sources on here, but this is all based on scientific research and how people react to it, right? You anticipate what's gonna happen a lot better because you already started your day, and you're way better organized. Comes back to prioritization. And it's not something like, oh, I get up earlier, I'm now better organized. It's just mentally, you just get better organized. And of course, this is research, which means it's not going to be 100% coverage in terms of what this does. But it's the one thing I found that I used to get up when the kids got up, right? And now I get up roughly an hour earlier. My son's a bit of a pain in the ass, so sometimes he gets up early as well. But it just means I have that hour where there's complete silence, there's nothing around, and I have that time to me. And it's also when I have off-peak data on the internet, but that's an Australian thing. And I can do a lot in that hour. I can catch up on a ton of things. I can start things. I can, plan the next meetup, whatever it is that I might have to do. It's before my normal work hours as well. I haven't gone to my daytime job. So I'm assuming most of you will have a daytime job of some description. That's I'm not wrong there, right? Sort of 9 to 5-ish, yeah? Anyone have really strange working hours? Okay, good, because assumptions are great if they're true. So early rising, it's my number one thing that I've found in the last 3 years, and it's most people will fight it, and they go, I can't do that. It's not me. I'm a B person. Have you ever heard of that, A and B people? My brother would forever tell me he's a B person. Nah, there's no such thing. I'm sorry. If you're a teenager, yes, there's certain chemical reactions that means that you just go to bed later and you get up later. That's been proven as well. But as adults, no. I don't believe there's an A and a B. There's your personality and your, let's say, ambition maybe, but there's no difference in us. We can all get up at 5 if we really want to. So that's my number one, and it really makes a big difference. It's a huge difference. Okay, who here has a Netflix subscription or similar? Okay, who doesn't? Because there was a few hands. Excellent. Why don't you have a Netflix subscription? I mean, anyone?
I can't focus on videos a lot of the time.
Okay.
I'd rather do other things.
Yep, that's fair.
Such a high commitment to start one of these series.
I think you should do this talk because that's exactly right, okay? So I have this, and people always fight me on this as well. Just stop watching TV, okay? Seriously. And then I have but I need to relax. I need to wind down. Yeah, of course we do. But you don't need 24 hours of some TV show to do that. I'm sorry. Okay, and then if does anyone here want to counter that argument? I'm happy to discuss it. But just, to me, it is that black and white. Just don't watch TV. And I can see there's some people going, but I like my Netflix. And they, I'm sure. Sorry?
Why don't watch TV?
So to me, TV is a never-ending thing. There's always one more thing. It's, I always use Game of Thrones, which I haven't watched, by the way. But it's, I've heard people like, oh, the new season's out, I'll watch all of it. Right, and they watch 24 hours, how long it takes. What I do instead is that I watch movies, right? I watch a movie, because I know it's a finite thing. It's an hour and a half or 2 hours, and I put that in my prioritization, like you were saying before. I put that in the schedule of it, whatever, however you manage your time. but it ends. There's nothing after it, right? So I can plan for it. If you start watching, let's say Game of Thrones, or what's a current TV series or Netflix series or whatever, what's popular? Witcher. Okay, that's a computer game, isn't it?
And a book and a TV.
And a book and a TV series, there you go. So you can play the whole computer game and then watch the whole TV series. And it's like, what happens if you don't watch it? Is it the fear of missing out? Is it because you're lazy? Is it because you need something to stimulate your brain? Like, there's many reasons that you would watch it, but you just keep watching it because you go, oh, it's just one more show. It's only 40 minutes, or an hour, or whatever, and you keep watching it, right? So.
If you're willing to say, I'm going to watch a 40-minute episode and then do something else, how is that different from watching one movie?
Yes, if you can. If you can. Yeah. Most people cannot. The average minutes of TV watched in Western Europe, so that includes the UK, still until tonight, no, is, hey?
Too soon.
Too soon. I'm leaving at 8 o'clock, so, it was 220 minutes a day in 2015. And obviously it does mean everybody here watches 3.5 hours of TV. That's not what I'm saying. That's a lot. US was almost 4 hours on average, a day, per day, right? And when you start looking, like, if you can, objectively on what is actually happening, there's a lot of minutes that goes on where you watch a YouTube video, or you scroll through someone's Facebook feed and you watch 10 minutes of cat videos, or there's Netflix season, or whatever it might be. That's a lot of time suddenly. And I'm not perfect. Of course I watch YouTube. Of course I watch someone's Facebook cat video. But I'm conscious to trying not to. I think that's what the message is. Just be conscious of how much time, right? So seriously, just really stop it, okay?
Watch it on your iPad instead, then it's not TV.
That's correct. See, he's got it. It's go on your iPad. Now, TV to me is like any kind of screen, any kind of broadcast, okay? It's just like, if we have only free-to-air TV, because yes, we live in the middle of nowhere, we don't have a Netflix subscription. I do have an Amazon Prime Video subscription, I must admit, because that comes free with everything, right? But if there's a movie on TV or whatever with ads and you want to watch it, just go and buy the DVD or the whatever, download it or something, and you skip like 40 minutes of ads, right? So that's another thing. Anyway, I find those little time savers. So that's kind of, in terms of saving time, those are my two. Like, get up earlier, and yes, what happens if you go to bed at 10 instead of 11? Nothing, right? It just means that you don't spend an extra hour watching TV. Who disagrees? I'm happy to be disagreed with. Okay, one person, perfect, thank you. Because there's always, yeah, okay, a few. But it's fine if you reckon you can manage it and treat it like a very much a casual, occasional thing. Well, it's fine. It's just I knew I couldn't. If I start watching something, I just need to see what happens. I just need to see what happens. All right. So, it's all well and good if you get up early. It's all well and good if you stop watching TV. But you've got to have some sort of passion, right? You've got to have something that you want to do with that extra time. All those, 4 hours a day, 3.5 hours a day? Probably not, but a lot of time. Does anyone want to volunteer something they're really passionate about, that they spend a lot of time on, or would like to spend a lot of time on? Could be anything, doesn't matter. Okay, you all watch TV, perfect. Because you got to have that thing. Like, there's no point in me saying, hey, you get more time, and start watching TV, and you just sit there going, okay, what do I do now? Right, we got to have these passions. So, okay, I'll volunteer mine then, and maybe I'll ask you again. One of mine is community work, especially in the tech community. I love that moment where I put on an event, or I help out with a talk, or I serve the pizza, whatever it is that helps out that community event, and you see those light bulbs going on. Right? When someone explains something and it's like, yeah, I get it now. Yeah, I understood this bit and that bit, but there's the glue, or whatever it might be. That moment to me is like, I get goosebumps now just talking about it, okay? That to me is like, that's why I do it. That's why I've been doing DDD in Melbourne for 10 years. That's why I did the keynote at DDD Adelaide for their first talk, or I did PubConf in Perth for their DDD, or like, I just try and help out wherever I can. And that's me spending the time I would otherwise maybe have been sleeping, or maybe I would have been watching TV or something. I do spend a lot of time on this, especially with this new thing, which I keep banging on about. Hey, plug! No, we did that. The first events were a couple of weeks ago, and we're now at number 5. All of Australia's been on holiday, so I haven't done one on my region yet, but it's coming. But that's like putting on a YouTube show or live stream. It's really hard, I found out. I thought we just get a phone or like something. No, there's a lot of moving parts. If you deal with Australian internet, like we saw last night, it's really interesting. But to me, it's something that keeps me going. I want to make that better. It's like, oh, we learned, okay, the sound dropped out there because I'm just like, I don't want to just throw around the word passion or be passionate, but that was the passion in me is like, I need to figure that out. How do I make that better? How do I get more people to watch this if they want to? How do I make it more inclusive? And that's part of, like, that's one of my passions. I got more than that. I spent a lot of time building Lego. Yeah. Anyone? Yeah. Stephen going, yeah. Come on. I'm just going to wait now. Yes.
It's more a case of having many things I like to do in my day, and it's kind of hard to find the time to fit it all in, because apart from work, of course, I get home at about 6 o'clock in the evening, and then I'm exhausted, but want to do some sports just as an
I know what you're saying, though.
Yes, just to have a contrast.
Yeah.
And I also like to do work with my hands, like sewing.
Yep.
Sewing?
Yes, sewing. Yep.
And I love to read.
Yep.
And yes, it's kind of hard to fit it all.
It is. Oh, yeah. I'm not saying this is easy, by the way, right? I'm not just saying, oh, there you go, done. Off you go. No, it's hard. Absolutely, it's hard. But again, if you're tired in the evening, get up earlier, right? Because I get tired in the evening. Of course I do, right? Often I have fallen asleep with my keyboard. Yes, it has happened. So I'm not saying you get necessarily much more energy out of it. That's the exercise part of it, which I won't talk about, because we could keep adding on things, right? I got to pick some topics. So yeah, if you have many things that you'd like to do, well, again, prioritization. Still, we can get back to that all the time because it works. But if you have a schedule, so you say, okay, well, I know Tuesday is my night for reading a book, or Wednesday is, you can start sort of building it up. And the beauty of putting things into a routine is that eventually it becomes habit. Right, so it takes about 6 weeks or 3 weeks for a schedule or for an exercise to become routine, roughly. And it takes about 3 months for it to become habit. Just like when you learn driving a car. When you start driving and you got your driving lessons, you go, oh, there's a car and that's red, and then, what does that sign mean? Oh, yeah. And you get into it like, oh, okay, yeah, I know, I've been here before. And then when you get to be a habit, you go, I hope that was a red light, a green light. You get to that whole, it becomes a habit that you're just doing it. And it's the same with everything. But it takes work, it takes effort to create these habits, and also to undo them, like with your Netflix or your whatever, right? So that's probably what I would say. If you get really tired in the evening, move your day, right? Because you're going to have to go to work anyway, right? That's not going to change.
Yes.
No. So if you can move the hours you have before work, maybe that'll work. Yes?
There is another problem. When you are, for example, concentrated on one task and then raise up one question, you don't know something or you are interested in or whatever, and you just Google, and then you Google and Google and Google and Google, and you forget.
Yep.
But you're starting, what was the starting point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is also, and if we are like looking for the answers on the YouTube, is also the same.
Yes. So many websites are designed that way.
Yeah.
It's like, who uses Reddit? Exactly. Like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, what did he say? Oh, yeah, right. It's the same idea. That's a disciplinary thing. Like it's hard, yes. Maybe you set a timer. There's many techniques you can use to kind of combat that, but yeah, it's definitely a problem. Yeah, I would maybe if you have a phone, say, okay, I need 5 minutes research time or whatever, and set it, because that reminds you not to watch the next cat video or whatever it might be, right? Yeah. Okay, so when you have found your passion, when you know what it is, in order to kind of get this life on track, right? Because it's easy to kind of go, not easy, but you know what you're passionate about, probably. You go, say you're sewing. You go, oh, I sew. I'm going to keep sewing. Obviously, I like it. But if you don't put it into a structure, how do you know where you want to end up with it, right? So that's where, I'm not going to make this a talk about goals, because that was the first talk, but it is an important part of putting your life kind of on track, or putting it into a system. And obviously they're not goals like that. Like that's just a funny picture. Yeah, okay. I'm talking about life goals. I'm talking about things that you want to achieve and how to achieve them. And beware, there's a very big difference between a dream and a goal. A dream is a throwaway statement going, oh yeah, I'd love to go to Antarctica. That's a dream, okay? But if you say, oh, okay, I need 40,000 pounds to go to Antarctica to do the flight, and that'll take me 6 months to, and I have to do, that becomes a goal, right? It's very clear. The path becomes very clear. So beware, there's a difference between a goal and a dream. If you want to know more about goal setting, either check out my first talk or just Google it with Bing. So there's two types of goals that are important in my world. One is a short, quick goal. That's a quick animal. And yeah. These are goals that you can achieve within, say, 6 months, usually, a year maybe. Just short goals. And they're really important for two reasons. One is that you get this sense of achievement. So a goal usually have many milestones, many things that you want to achieve within the same goal, right? So say the Antarctic example, it could be, well, I need to figure out how to get 40,000 pounds, dollars, whatever. Okay, I can get 10,000 from here, and I know I can do that in 2 months. The next 10, they become milestones that you can tick off, and you go, I did it. Those are important because if you just have one 10-year goal, becomes really, really scary. It becomes overwhelming. It becomes almost impossible. So the short, quick goals, and they also support the long-term goals, right? The long-term goals are the important ones. So those are the, I want to have a house in this suburb in 10 years, or I want to be this part of my career in 10 years, or I want to, whatever it is. These very, very, very ambitious goals, because they often are, and they're so important. They're so important because they guide you in every single thing you do. Right? And yes, goals change, of course they do. But if you don't write them down, if you don't stick to them, there's no point. Because then they're not adhering to your passion, they're not adhering to what you actually want to achieve. But we can all have the same mental state to say we can all do lots of things, but the person that has the long-term goal that they're chasing will eventually achieve it. And the person that doesn't have any goals will just keep floundering and just probably do really cool stuff and help out. And that's not, bang it down in any negative way. It's just that you don't get that benefit out of it, that long journey. So I have a very particular long-term goal, which is roughly 6 or 7 years away. We haven't quite figured it out. I don't share it publicly, but I have one. And all of what I do, so the job I have right now is in support of that goal. Everything I do, all the silly videos I do, all the weekly updates I do, all the courses I do, all the articles I write, all of them have a small part to play in that long-term goal. Does that make sense? And you may not know exactly what your long-term goal is. You just have a bunch of short-term ones. That's cool. Or the other way around, okay? You don't have to know everything from day one. You just need to know that they all kind of combine to a higher entity, or whatever you want to call it. And the really cool thing is that, as I said, if you have a long-term goal, or short-term for that matter, when an opportunity is presented to you, say, hey, do you want to do this, or can you do this? You know exactly what the answer is. You don't have to think about it. I used to say yes to everything. By the way, it's not the worst thing in the world, okay? It just means that you get inundated with things. I just said yes. Yeah, I'll do that thing. Yeah, I'll create that. Yeah, I'll run. And then I almost burned out about 12 months ago. It was that close, right? And because I forgot what all these things were supporting. So now it's much easier to say, no, I don't want to do that. No, or actually, don't say can't. This is my number one tip. As soon as you say can't or try, you've already given yourself an excuse. If you're not doing something, say, I won't do it. It's my choice not to do it. But of course you can do it if you want to. You can do it. You can do anything you want, sort of. I can't be an astronaut, but other than that. It's just, and as soon as you use the word try, it's the same thing. Oh yeah, I'll try and do that. And everybody does that. I do that too. But it's the one thing I try and instill in my son, who's 5. I said, no, don't say try. Either you do it or you don't, right? And if you fail, so what? But at least you did it. So this word try mentally gives us this, oh yeah, but if I don't succeed, that's okay too. Right? It gives us that excuse right from the start. And you just won't put yourself into it. So goals. And what happens if you don't have goals is that someone else's life is in control of you. Right? I choose sheep because oftentimes I see people doing stuff they don't want to do. And they don't know why they're doing it. They just follow the person in front. So there is a leader of the sheep. Yes, that's the person with the goals that know what they want to achieve and gets others to help them. So if you don't have that direction, you are going to just fulfill someone else's dream. And I did this for the longest time. I just followed society. Right. Again, this is my first talk. This is where I started. Like I had the 9-to-5 job, I had the nice car, I had the nice house. I lived, in Melbourne, outer suburbs, yada yada. It was all fantastic until I realized it wasn't, because none of it was what I wanted. So be conscious of what you want, and we'll get more back to that. So here's my favorite slide. If you don't take control of your life, someone else will. Right? Someone else is going to use your energy and your passion to do what they want. That's just how the world works. If you have a conscious choice, if you make a conscious choice of not having it that way, then it won't be that way, right? I'm not saying that people are necessarily evil or anything. It's just that you just become a resource, right? That's a lot of jobs that happens. We're there because we need a paycheck. We need to pay the bills. I get that. But it's also we're fulfilling someone else's goal. Now, you can also choose to have that job because you have a much longer term goal where that job is part of it, but that's cool. But then at least you made the decision. So that to me is important. Just this conscious control of what you want to do. And again, it's not always that easy. Absolutely it's not. But it's a conscious thing, right? So the easiest thing you can do is to quit, right? That's number one. Like that's the easiest thing right now you can do is just go, nah, I'm not doing it, and quit. But the consequences are much larger. And that's why coming back to it's not easy. Yes, you have to put in effort. You have to negate certain things that you are used to, like maybe a Netflix show. I don't know. I keep coming back to that. It's a pet peeve of mine, right? Like, stop watching that shit. But you can quit at any time. It's so easy. And lots of people do it. Because they go, nah, it's too hard. Instead of finding a way through it. If it really is that important and it's part of your goals, you're not going to quit. But it's so easy to do. And it crosses your mind all the time. Like, oh, I could just not do it and then go to the pub or whatever. Okay. Controversial time. Choose your friends. How many here have friends from high school or equivalent? Right. How many of them see them, say, several times a year? Yep, exactly. Me too. How many of those friends do you look up to? A few? Yeah, okay. Those are the ones you want to surround yourself with, right? This is hard because your ambition and your mental, I guess, eagerness or passion or whatever comes from other people as well. So if you surround yourself with people you want to be like, or you look up to, or you can get something from, or you can contribute in some way, you're going to get there much faster. But if you always hang around with the people that my other half, she's a life coach, and she has this, I love this concept of the birds. The birds are the ones that you go, oh, I've got this fantastic idea. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to set up this foundation, I'm going to do, or whatever it might be, right? This grand idea. And then the birds come in, they go, you sure? That's not a very good idea. Are you sure you can do that? And they keep pecking at you, right? The birds just keep pecking away, pecking away, pecking away. And eventually, what happens?
They win.
They win. You just go, yeah, I can't do that. No. Those are the friends that you don't want. And I'm serious about that. Those are the friends that you go, I can't hang out tonight. And that's really hard. That's really, really hard because you become the asshole, right? You're the villain in that case. but you have to preserve yourself. Because otherwise you just keep feeding their fear or their anxiety or their negativity. If it's someone in your family, that becomes really hard, right? Let's just put it like this. I moved 17,000 kilometers away from my family. I love them dearly, but didn't work, right? So, and it's still the same. I still go visit them, I still talk to them, it's not like that. It's just they don't influence what I do, right? And that's where I started. That's what I was taught, was that, no, society will sort it out for you. You get the job and the degree and the car and you go on the yearly holiday to somewhere nice and all those things. That's what I grew up with. So you have to make these really, really difficult choices at times. And that's not nice. It's not a thing that is pleasant, but it's so necessary if you want to, self-preservation is the key. Yeah. Anyone want to comment on that? Because that's usually pretty damn controversial. Yes?
Yeah, so there's a guy, Dr. Lakoff, and it sounds a bit weird as an engineer, but he says, don't worry about the detail. If you've got a big enough thing, you'll work it out.
Yep.
And like you saying with the birds.
Oh, yeah, yes, totally. It's, I kind of like the vision of Elon Musk, even though I would never work for him because he seems like a bit of an asshole. Yeah, it's sort of, I admire what he does. But he definitely had that whole, of course I can do an electric car company that will be the best in the world, right? That mentality. Oh, I just need another $120 million. Okay, well, I got friends that can help me out, and he found a way. Not that that's always possible, but you find a way, and it's so true what you say. Like, once you have these goals, yes, there will be some detail, because otherwise how the hell are you going to measure where you are and where you want to go? But a lot of it you won't know. Like, the path is definitely not clear. And that's totally what you said, yeah. And yes?
I had a bunch of friends in the music scene, and we always used to say that they were sitting in a bit and they'd always try to drag you into that bit
Correct.
with them,
Yep.
just because they were miserable, and if you were having a nice time. But if you were miserable, they all flocked around and loved it. Like,
Yep.
and it's just like, I don't want to hang out with you.
No.
Like, yeah,
And that's,
I love misery.
sometimes it's that clear, and you go, well, that's easy. Like, I'll just choose not to. Sometimes it's much harder, right? It could be a friend that you've had for 30 years or 20 years, and you share lots of things, you share ideas, all sorts of things. I have one friend that, as it turned out, every time I did something positive, he was sort of like I'm not sure about that. Extremely risk averse, where I'm more like, oh, we got $2 left, absolutely, let's do it, right? Which is not healthy either, you need the balance. So yes, those things become really hard. And I still see this person frequently, but I don't share any kind of ambition, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's not always that easy. Anyone else want to? Yes?
How do you identify the difference between negative people and genuine criticism of bad ideas?
Mm-hmm. Oh, genuine criticism. Well, because the birds is not criticism, right? That's just their anxiety and their self-doubt that gets expressed in, oh, if I can't do it, you probably can't do it either. If it's actual criticism, there will be hey, I think what you did is a stupid idea or doesn't work because of. Sometimes that's followed with and here's how you could go forward. Not always, because a lot of us sometimes can see, there's problems with this, I just don't know what the solution is. And that's fine. But if you can describe what the problem is without saying, hey, you're just an idiot, that to me is criticism. Whereas the friends or whatever you want to call them, they're not really friends. That just have the opportunity to go, they'll never work, loser. You don't want those around. But yeah, it's a lot of this. As I said at the beginning, this is not easy. I'm not saying, hey, go forth and do it. It is definitely hard, and this is really, really hard. Like the goals, yeah, because that's just you write them down, you got them. And by the way, write them down, don't just think about them, okay? You need to measure. Put them in your fridge, somewhere you see them. But this whole sort of surround yourself with the people you want to be like is really tricky.
You have to not do it yourself as well with people, with ideas. You spot things.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'd like to think of myself as a positive being, but I'm sure I've done it as well. Now someone's come up with an idea, I go, really? Now I try to go more like, oh yeah, how? And then see what they come up with, right? So, yeah, for sure. And that comes back to this, be true to yourself. Yes, I know there's Star Wars everywhere, okay? Stop trying to be like everybody else, right? You don't want to be a copy of everybody else. I did that when I was really young, like 18, 20. I was really struggling, but okay, oh, that was funny. Okay, I'll do that then. Or, oh, that was a great, I really had trouble. And I think that's probably a common thing when you're sort of early 20s. You're just like, oh, what the hell am I doing? But it just means that I was copying everybody else. I wasn't really doing it for me. I was just trying to fit in, right? Don't have to fit in. It's okay. You don't have to fit in, even at work or wherever. So that's kind of just an extension of what I was just saying. Yeah, fitting in is a survival technique for society, right? And we don't have to, so. Consequently, I don't have many people I would call friends, by the way. I have an enormous amount of acquaintances and people I like to talk to and ideas with, but actual friends, I don't know, 10, 8, maybe, something like that. It's very much on purpose. I hate you all! No, sorry. Okay, so once you get through this and once you figure out what you want to do and once you have your passion, I guess, written down as goals or however you want to structure your life, manage it, once you put yourself out there, things are going to start happening. It's just will. If you keep doing a thing you really, really want to do and you're really passionate about, people are going to start notice. And the right people are going to start notice. Also the wrong, but then you get rid of those. And you start having these opportunities present themselves all the time. And initially, I just said yes, absolutely. Oh yeah, I'll do 12 meetups in a week or whatever. And you figure out that you probably shouldn't do that, but it's a good learning experience. But lots and lots of opportunities will come, and they absolutely will. I promise you, if you put yourself out there and you start doing the thing that you want to do, whatever format that is, whether it's my silly YouTube videos, or it's you writing a book, or you're creating a podcast, or I don't know, many other examples. You're sewing things for people, like whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter. But people will start to notice because your passion will shine through. And you will become so focused on those goals that it'll become obvious that you are the person to go and talk to. So that's really cool. And I didn't believe that when people were telling me that. I genuinely did not believe it. A lot of it early on, like say 15 years ago, I attributed it to luck. Like, oh God, you're lucky. How did that happen? And then a good friend of Steve and mine actually said, well, it's funny because the harder I work, the luckier I get. Funny how that works. And it's very true, right? It is hours and hours and hours of things. Like overnight success takes years, all those cliche terms are absolutely true. It's not something that just happens like that. But once you have your direction, it goes a lot quicker and it becomes a lot more obvious. So, you get to somewhere. Which path do you choose? Which is the right one? I know, if you have your goals set, they're right. But sometimes you get stuff that either direction could take you to the right place. And I can't help you. I'm sorry. This is part of the journey. That's why I said the path is unclear. Just be aware that that will happen. There will be things where you go, actually, I'd love to do both, but I can't. So you got to make a choice. Maybe you write down pros and cons. Maybe you talk to your partner. Maybe you find a good friend. Whatever it is that might make it clear for you. But it's just, that will happen. So I don't want it to just leave you with, you just set a goal and off you go, you're right. No, it doesn't happen like that. There are definitely times where there's these crossways where you go, I don't know. But the most important things when that happens is don't be a jerk, okay? Don't be that guy. I see this way too often, especially when you start getting a little bit of traction and you become that, oh yeah, but I'm doing it now. What are you doing, right? Don't be that guy or that lady or that person that just goes, yeah, sorry, the guy term. I know, I just use it willy-nilly. I apologize. But this will just unravel so fast. There was recently, I could probably tell this story without naming names. There was a extremely successful person for a training company who just came out with some tweets that were misogynistic. Is that right? Misogynistic? That's my English not coming through. They were just foul, they were racist, they were just really, really vile. And he was like, what are you going to do? I got 100,000 followers. What do you got? That was the attitude. And it was just, and I think Steve saw it as well, just in real time, just unraveling. We're like, what is this guy doing? But he just got to this point of going, I'm just so much better than everybody else. That it's just, and it just exploded. Like he lost book contracts, he lost online education contracts, he lost a whole bunch of stuff. So don't be a jerk, okay? Just be a nice person. It's not hard. That doesn't mean you have to stroke everybody's ego. That's not what I'm saying. But if it's something you want to do, just say, no, thanks anyway. I love that you asked me, but I won't do it. You don't have to say, well, because it's a shit idea and it'll never work, right? Don't do that. Just be the nice person, okay? And yeah, please. So I want to just touch on this because I just mentioned earlier that I'm a bit addicted to, especially Twitter, right? It's we all do it. You get in an elevator, the first thing you do this, right? You take your phone out. A lot of people do it. I do it, and you go, oh, funny tweet. Just try not to be as addicted to it. It's almost like Netflix. You can spend so much time scrolling through your Facebook feed or finding the next bored panda video to post or something. I'm not going to go too much into it because Steve's going to do a talk in a minute, but I'll plug that shortly. I just want to mention that social media is a big part of what we do. You don't have to be on social media. I found it very beneficial in a lot of ways. I've had, when I was freelancing, I had jobs come through Twitter. Funny enough, DMs and stuff like that. So yes, it can work really well. But it's also a bit of a toxic waste dump. Yeah. Okay, so who is anyone here work from home? Okay, there's more and more people. All right. Or let's say you have this passion project, right? And you wanna actually do something with it. But the dishes have to be done. Right? Who does the dishes then? Yeah, we all do. Oh, come on, you do. This is metaphorical. This could be also who does, you got to finish that level on that game. Or, yeah, see, there's a few more nods like, damn, you found me. Or watch that TV thing, or whatever it might be. Procrastination is just a killer. And it's so easy to do. And the part of procrastination is fear, because we don't want to go on and actually dive into it. For the longest time. So I've done 28 Pluralsight courses and lots of videos and all sorts. For the longest time, the actual act of pressing record and recording the audio for the course just filled me with like, I don't think I'm ready. I'll just wait. And then I did something else. Right? I had everything ready, all the slides, all the scripts, everything, but the actual action of recording, I just procrastinated for sometimes weeks, going, I just need to fix the thing with the stuff. And, oh, look, washing. That is a real buzzkill, is that the right word? But it really drags you down. Procrastination is so toxic because it keeps going. Because once you've done, you go, oh, well, yeah, I did, but I still finished the thing. Like, it was still on time, so I can just do it again. And you get into that whole mental cycle. This is not a talk about how to get out of procrastination. Canceling your Netflix subscription is a good start. No, sorry. So, any questions on any of this? Because I've been talking for a while now. Yes.
What's your top tip for stopping print? Like
that.
So when you were like, oh no, I'm not quite ready to do this.
Yep.
Like, how did you stop doing that? Was it the 1, 2, 3, just fucking do it?
That was part of it. Yeah, absolutely. So part of it was, I want to get it right, and you have that hesitation. Sometimes it comes out as like writer's block as well. If you do writing, if you do blogs or whatever, you sort of go, I've got this great idea, but I can't get it down on paper. Similar sort of mental process. Sometimes I would ask my editor to give me a tighter deadline. I would put it on someone else, get an outside force to enforce something for me. Because I knew I would meet the deadline, right? Except for one course, which took me 2 years. Anyway, so that could be one part. Also, just jump into it, but that's a lot easier said than done. A lot easier because of that mental block. But the thing is, once you jump into it, 9 times out of 10, or 99 times out of 100, nothing extraordinary happens. You just do the thing, right? I don't know what would happen if I don't know what I was afraid of in terms of what would actually happen. That I can't explain that. But once I clicked that record button, I was like, oh, I'm doing it now, okay. And then I go, and now when I do it for my current role, I just record it. It's never an issue. I do this weekly update, which is roughly 3 minutes edited. It takes me, I don't know, 40 minutes to write the script and then 5 minutes to record it, and off we go. I'll be done. Right, but that 5 years ago would have taken me 45 minutes to write the script and then 4 weeks to record it, right? So, yeah, anyone else? Yes?
How do you find the balance in doing what you're saying? So what I'm finding is that I can always do another Git pull request, I can always write another blog post. I'm not becoming a nice person when this is all kind of stacking up.
Mm-hmm.
Nice person to be around. I don't know if that's really making sense.
Yeah. So when does the stress and the pressure get to you?
Yeah, what tactics do you have for just saying, okay, done enough today, stop.
Oh, yeah.
Relax.
I want to get back, I want to refer back to the goals, especially the short term or the milestones of it. Because if you have a very clear 4-week path of achieving the thing, well, you can kind of go, oh, actually, I've written something today and I still got 3 weeks to do, so it's fine. Because I have days as well where I go, I can't write anything right now. My main job is to write content and then record it. That's what I do. And I go, I can't do it. So I go outside, I go up the hill or whatever, and just try and not think too much about it. And the funny thing is what happens is that your subconscious will keep working on it, even though you're not. So coming back to your question of when do you know enough is enough, without being a nasty person, is that what the end result is?
Yeah, I start like becoming like stressed. It's like, oh, I've got to get this blog post out.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because you feel you should have done it by now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, if you can, there's various techniques. I've lost the word. Is it a focus issue?
No, I think basically it's trying to find when enough is enough, really. Today I've worked for 8 hours, I've worked on my side project for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then I've still got 2 hours before I need to go to bed.
Sure.
Let me do a pull request or let me write something else. At what point should I just say enough?
But I think this sounds like in your world, it has to be a time boundary, like time box it. And then you're happy with what you got there. And if you got to accept it obviously yourself and say, well, I got 2 hours. Because I would have trouble focusing for that long for 2 hours on a single thing. And I would get annoyed with myself that, yeah, I just spent 2 hours not doing anything. But what you're saying is you spent 2 hours doing something, but you didn't get as far as you wanted. Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you can condition or get into the habit of saying, well, I'll do 2 hours and I get done what I get done. Some days I get a ton done, more than I thought. Some days I get less done. But it's you have to accept that. Like, I can't accept that for you. Because if you keep being annoyed and not doing enough, you'll never do enough. So you gotta set that boundary saying, well, actually this is enough, those 2 hours. Because no one wants to be around you, I'm assuming, when you get in that mood. Yeah. And then it affects everybody else. Yes?
Maybe it's part of your first part of the talk, and I haven't seen like the other one.
Sure.
Actually, I have to admit that I was very confused because I was looking at the agenda and I was looking for part 1.
Oh, right.
No, where's part 1?
I apologize. Yes.
But what I'm thinking about is, I've done these things and very successfully, I guess, like for me.
Sure.
But at the same time, what you also mentioned, what's the purpose of all of this? It's like I'm questioning myself, why are you doing all this? You've already, let's say, overachieved your peers or whatever.
Yep.
And at some point, it's just like, why should I defer being just relaxing, doing nothing?
You can.
For doing one good thing. You know?
Yeah, no, that's a totally fair question. Like, if you're at that point in your life where you go, actually, I just did 20 years of cool stuff. Now I need a year off. Absolutely, you can do that. But don't make it just, I just need time off. I'll just do nothing now. Like, it's got to be a conscious decision. That's my whole point. It's like, you've got to take control of what you're doing. I'm not saying you have to do all these awesome things all the time. But if you just give up, which is the easy thing, right? Then it just starts to all go blah, blah, blah. But if you consciously go, no, for now, in the next 6 months or whatever, I'm just going to do my day job and focus on my family or whatever. Well, cool. You know that. That's your choice. That also makes it much easier to all the people that come and ask you for help. So actually, no, I won't do that right now.
One more question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about working less? Like
Working less?
Yeah. We were talking a lot about like carving out this hour in the morning. But
Yep.
what about not working for 8 hours a day or 10 or whatever?
Sure. But what do you do then?
Yeah, doing what I don't know. Maybe
It's got to be something you want to do. Like, and I'm not talking about watching Netflix. I keep going back to that, but it really is toxic. If that's your default thing of just, oh, I've got 2 hours to kill, just do that. That becomes really dangerous. But yeah, of course you need time out. I'd take my kids to the playground for 3 hours. That's fine. It's not like you can't do that, but it becomes a conscious choice. Like it's not like, oh, I got nothing else to do. That's my point, is that you got to be in control of what you're doing. That's the whole idea. And procrastination is not you being in control. We're almost out of time. So I just want to say this. There is no time like the present. That's my friend Scott. I don't know if you know Scott. You may have heard of Scott. He passed away 3 weeks ago. Oops, that was bad. There we go. At the age of 50. All right? Big shock to everybody. Like, holy crap. Not because he was Scott, but because he was my mate. And I was meant to go visit him in November. Didn't happen because he was sick. He came just fine. Talked to him 2 days before he died, and now he's not here. Okay? So that's part of this, is like, hey, we only here once. We got the same time, everybody. Do something you want to do. Don't just follow along. So I just wanted to end on that, because I think that's really important. That kind of drives it home for me. I never expected that. That's the first friend I've lost in a long time. And it just went right in the guts. If you do want to know more about all of this stuff that I just talked about, and especially about social media and whatever, Steve, who sits just here, is doing a talk that is... Do you want to plug your talk to the lovely people here, Pete? Steve?
Well, it kind of follows on from some of the stuff we've been talking about here. It's just a little bit of overlap in the themes, but it's more about trying to fight back against the everyday distractions.
Yeah.
It's
So
kind of a personal story as well. It's not a preachy talk. It's stuff I've had to deal with over the last few years.
Yeah, and Steve has actual research and stuff. So if you want, that's in the same room in 20 minutes. If you don't put a green card in, your mum doesn't love you. Oh, no. Put in whatever card you want. But I appreciate your feedback. Also, if you want to find me afterwards or whatever, and yell at me or ask more questions, that's fine too. I'm also on Twitter, just in my name. And that's all I got, so thank you. Leave that there until he shuts it off. Hello.
So I do most of these techniques myself. I was actually wondering if you had any way of encouraging the same thing in others, because we have a lot on my team where people have different motivations, and we've been